The beginning part is the end, just showing the YouTube with a little couple of drop shadows and the bevel and emboss just to highlight in Photoshop. And when you take a look at the logo, it's used in a lot of places, obviously in different design functions, but here's a little bit of the history on a site that's right on the file for you to take a look at. And I don't really want you to outline any of the type. The U is close, the letter U is close to the Helvetica type, so just trying to get you to locate it a little bit, not outlining it or anything like that. Don't really want you to have to spend time outlining the type on sometimes. It'll happen eventually, but don't worry about it this time. So under the character, right underneath the font, it gives you the different styles that are listed within there, and some have a whole bunch. Helvetica, I just use bold for this, zooming in. The whole type block is selected, so I'm just keeping it that way for now. I'll separate it in a minute. Don't necessarily have to, you can just change the color of one to the other, but it does, I just broke it apart, so don't be too worried about that. You can keep it all as one and just change the color of white to black and keep it all. I didn't bother doing that, but you can find whichever is easiest for you. So even though I split it, I was just trying to think if I make it separate, I might do something with the graphic. So you can see that the interior parts of the letter are a little off. You could modify them, but if you did, you'd probably want to use some of the warp tool as it happens. So here's trying to do the red circle, just making a square, grabbing the widgets to round off the corners. And now you're trying to arch the top, bottom, and the left and the right to finish. So under the warp tool, if you go under the bulge, you can see a vertical and horizontal that you can just scroll through and keep an eye on the screen. However, it only lets you do one at a time, so what you can do is go into the appearance panel and you can duplicate, create a new one. I just created a new bulge, apply the new effect, and just switch it so that one is doing the vertical, one's doing the horizontal. So it's a little workaround. There might be a way to do it all at one time. Just haven't found it yet. So those are two actions. When you turn one off or both, you can see it's highlighting that. And then since the picture with the eyedrop tool, you have to hold the shift key. If you use it right there, it's collecting the type. You have to go just above it to get the coloring, and then you have that selection. So here you can see that the type has the interior piece. I'll just turn that white, turn the stroke off, because I'm just going to make it a dark shadow underneath the drop shadow. So just selecting this, copying it to the pasteboard, and going to take this into Photoshop just to manipulate a few of the things there. There's outer glows, inside shadows that you can do. You can put textures on the background. There's no limit to what you want to do, but it's trying to get you to explore Photoshop. So the first one I'll just put in as paths to show it to you. Just go ahead and hit return. If you have the, or the checkbox up at the top, do another one with paths. It comes in. Let me get a new layer. And there we go. And it'll put it on its own section, just seeing it as one piece since the text comes in. And the last one, I'll just select to the top as a smart object, hide the rest of them. Whoops. Close that up first, the libraries, and that way you can modify things and go back into Illustrator if you want to modify something, and it'll update itself in Photoshop. So it's nothing too major. You've seen it a number of times, the logo. Just kind of taking the text, I'll just use the magic wand. I could have brought them over in separate pieces. Here's just layer, new, and cut. And then just hide the background. I'm just going to turn this, make sure, oops, I don't think I'm on the right layer. And they're just filling that red. So the type just has a drop shadow, put it at 100% for the opacity, and just either moving it or grabbing it on screen to kind of simulate the drop shadow just vertical onto that piece. And then separating this layer from the letters U and just giving it a bevel and emboss. So it's trying to get you, keep thinking of that. It doesn't always have to have the layer style, but just to give you a little bit. Here's the drop shadow without global lighting, kind of a soft edge coming across. And then I'll give you a look. And another one, just putting a texture background onto the selection on this screenshot.